Does it cost much to make that Zoom account?
Yeah, we'll get the. I think we can probably get the free ones or the cheap ones. I
Okay.
think they start to make you pay when the meetings go over an hour. So I feel like we're just in the free zone.
Okay, very good.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Mark. Good to see
Oh,
you.
nice to be seen. Nice to see you.
We're gonna get a mazel tov today, Mark. We're finishing the parak, hopefully.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a small parak, small chapter, but every
Okay.
parak is a parak.
That's right.
It's not every parak is real.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing we said, let's go up to is
I get
we're
it.
up,
I get a mazel tov also.
what's the mabruk? What's the mazel tov?
I had a granddaughter.
A mazel tov, mabruk.
Thank you. Thank you.
That
Same for you.
she should grow up to Torah, mitzvot, masim tovim,
Shir
good
Chayil.
deeds,
Yeah.
eshet chaya, chuppah, marriage, everything good.
Amen. Thank you.
And we also say to Gadol ben Torah that she should marry a person
Ben
who's a ben
Torah.
Torah,
Yeah.
the real deal man. You should marry.
God willing. God willing.
Okay. Now, of course, we want the grandpa to have a nice, great influence on her.
Yes.
How do you like that, Mark?
But thank you for the compliment.
It doesn't have things don't how do you build a child? You know what I mean? The help of the family, community. We all know it's not a one person show. You know,
Yeah. Grandparents got to be involved.
they got to be involved exactly. I'm going to start talking to Mark about how old is his oldest grandchild and how many times does he share a Dvar Torah with the child. Don't worry, I'm going to have to start talking to him about it. Okay, no jokes, no jokes.
No joke.
Okay, we are on Nun Aleph Amabet 51b1. We're up to Kishaim. The Gemara made a statement. The Gemara, we had Rabbi Yehuda, and we were talking about a little bit about Hatmana. That's the name of the parak. Metomnin, about insulation. And the Gemara says, "Ksheim she'ein tomnin etachamin." The Gemara has the opinion that says that the same way you don't go ahead and insulate hot food. There's an opinion that says, and the Rebbe's going to disagree, but the opinion that says the same way you can't insulate hot food, food that's hot, you can't insulate food that's cold to keep it cold. And the reason for that is, it would seem, because if you're going to allow people to insulate food, whether the people are going to make a mistake. If you can insulate cold food, if you can wrap cold food on the Shabbat on all sides, so people might come to wrap hot food on all sides, and therefore that's a problem. However, Rebbe, I mean, this is a machluk, this is a breita that's bringing an argument, an old argument in this fashion. However, the Tana Rebbe hitil hatman satzonein. Rebbe allowed us to insulate cold food on Shabbat. You want to go ahead and wrap the cold food on Shabbat, but provided you don't wrap it with something that adds heat. What I recall the Mishabur, the Shulchan Aruch says, you can't. Say whatever you're wrapping cold food on Shabbat, you can't wrap it. You want to take off the chill, and you can wrap it on all sides with something that adds heat. If you want to take away the chill, or you can't do that. The aim kin. We're talking about liquid. We're talking about a food that's cold. So now we're going to talk about the Eimeras kin. You can't crush lois hasheleg. You can't crush ice, snow. I mean snow on Shabbat. Lois haborod b'Shabbat. You can't crush hail or ice on Shabbat. If you want to go ahead and you want to get the liquid out of the ice or the snow, you can't crush it. What's the reason why you can't crush it in order to get the liquid? So Rashi says because you're creating it's like molid. You're creating something new on Shabbat. you're making water from ice. That means you did an active act. You went ahead and you crushed the ice, and that made water. You can't do that. You can't do that on Shabbos. Morning, welcome back. Okay, but Moshe, if you don't mind, Moshe can sit next to, because we're gonna have another person coming over there. Moshe, welcome back. We just said on Shabbat, you can't crush ice on Shabbat. Good morning, Asaf. Take ice and crush it. And what's the problem? So the water would seem to be creating a new item. So it looks like malacha. It looks like, like just like you can't make a utensil on Shabbat, right? You can't build on Shabbat. Take something that wasn't usable and make it into something usable on Shabbat. So there's certain things that are identified as work on Shabbat, right? Can't cook on Shabbat. You took a food that was not edible and you made it and you cooked it, right? That's something you can't do on Shabbat. So too, you can't. So there's certain it's a rabbinic. The rabbis create certain fences. If something looks like an act of work, the rabbi some things that look like work, that there are certain things that the rabbis will forbade because you should, as a fence to protect you, you shouldn't come to actually do actual work on Shabbat. So according to Rashi, one of the fences. Good morning, Ralph, and welcome back. One of the fences. Good morning, Ralph. One of the fences were you can't crush ice. Let's say you have a block of ice. You can't go ahead and.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
We're cheating. We learned this earlier.
Yes, we had last. Yes.
But doesn't it say crush snow or hail? And doesn't it specifically use those words? That's what we learned this week.
So logically, there shouldn't be. Adam is saying the language of the Gemara is snow you can't crush, and you can't crush hail. So the logic would that be the same reason should not be a difference between snow, hail, ice. What would be the reason to differentiate between snow, hail, and ice?
So I thought that one thing that we said earlier this week was with the snow and the hail.
Yes.
It looks like what did we say, Moshe? I think it's kind of like pulling the water out of your hair. Like it looks more bad. It looks like I forgot what we said, but it looks worse than with the ice for some reason.
Maybe because there is another. This is the reason that Rashi says is a concern. However, there are other opinions, other Rishonim that say that the issue here is not because of creating the nolad, that it looks like you're creating something new on Shabbat, rather because it's similar to the squeezing of fruit for its juices. That means you can't go ahead and take an olive and you can't take grapes and squeeze a grape. I want to make wine on Shabbat, and you can't take the wine, you can't take the grape to squeeze it to make the wine.
Lemon.
So we know a lemon. I know we could do lemon onto a salad, directly onto a salad, but if you squeeze a lemon into a salad directly, therefore the juice was not separate. It's not. It never had its own identity as juice. Went right into the salad, right? But to go ahead and make it, I want to make some wine, and I gotta go ahead and I would squeeze the olive or the wine into a cup on Shabbat. You can't go ahead. You can't do that, and so the crushing of ice, taking like a solid and then getting out of the solid liquid. So some say the problem is good morning, Mark.
So on the lemon thing, you can't squeeze it into a bowl?
An empty bowl?
Yeah.
So Ashkenazim wouldn't do that. We have to see, we could look up, we have to look that up. You gonna give me homework, Mark? Okay, we're gonna give homework. So the ice, this is the other concern. Other people say the concern is it mirrors squeezing like a fruit for its liquid, which you can't do, right? You can't go ahead and squeeze the fruit, the grape, the olive, main for its liquid. That's one of the things on Shabbat. That's one of, and in the Mishkan, right? They would go ahead and they would squeeze the. One of the things they did is because you need wine. They poured wine on the altar, right? It was Nisa Chamayim. It was man, beautiful. There was oil mixed with the flour. So that was part of the things. Good morning, Simon. So that was part of the things that they did. They in the Mishkan, they would. This part of the work they needed to do was to squeeze the grapes to get wine, to squeeze the olives to get the oil. So the menorah, right? There are different things that they needed to do, and we're not, and that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. So something that mirrors what you could take ice and break an ice. That we're not saying you can't crush ice. Let me explain what I mean to say. When you break ice, if you take that, you have a big piece of chunk of ice cube, and you want to go ahead and you want to break it, you want to make it into two pieces. That you could do, but to take an ice and then to crush it into water, that you can't do. You can't go ahead and take let's say, sometimes you have a bottle that was in the freezer, and now it's half, just ice left. Let's say it's just half ice, and there's no water in it. And you go ahead and just want to crush that ice like kids used to do when we were younger to get the water. Just I want to make it liquid. So that's it. I can't crush ice. I can't take an ice cube and pat it down. And Tosfos even says you have to be careful. Don't wash your hands with snow because if you take it, it's gonna turn it into the water. But you can't. Don't go ahead and take the solid piece of something that's ice, you see, and go ahead and crush. So the question is, did they? Right, so
What about walking in snow?
we're walking in snow. You can walk in snow. We don't that right we're not. We don't. The rabbis didn't forbid walking in snow. That was a good point, Ralph. That the rabbis didn't forbid, but to take something, to do an active act that you are intentionally taking ice and you want to crush it for its liquid. It's changing it, and it looks, you created a new entity. Before it was a solid, now you made it into a liquid. So Rashi says that's the concern of the changing it, the new entity. The other conversation that's
changing liquid to gas.
Making liquid to what? To what do we get?
Gas. Moisture. There's three liquid, solid. Water could be frozen, liquid, or gas, right?
Right. So you're
So
saying
what you're saying is it's a problem by changing it from solid to liquid. That's
solid to liquid. Now, and we have two different reasons that are given what the problem is.
what's the problem.
One reason is because it looks. One reason because you might come to squeeze fruits for its liquid. That's one reason, right? Because it has that similarity, a solid for its juice. And the other reason is not because of the issue of fruits. Because maybe people will say there's no comparison. Maybe perhaps Rashi would say we don't have to. We're not worried about that. That's not you're in the ice family. You're not in the fruits family. There's no fruit on the table, Moshe, right? But what's the issue? Yeah, one second. But what's the issue is it's a new thing. It's something that
created something new.
which looks like. And what's the problem with that? What is the problem with that? What malach did that? But again, okay. But is it really? I mean, I can't create. I can't build. But Rashi says it's not. Rashi still doesn't feel it's a Torah problem. It's not like building. It's a rabbinic problem, and it looks like work. It looks. Rashi seems to look. What looks like work because you did this, and you went and
breaking ice into 10 pieces doesn't look like work.
again. What's the work? It looks like not just work. It looks like you accomplished work because there was a change, meaning you did something, you took an ice, right, and something new happened, which, like you said, Rabbi, that's work. You created a new entity. So Rashi seems to say that still that whatever you created, the water that you created from the ice, is not considered enough of a new entity that we're going to identify it as building, as creating or finishing a product or something, because the product was already here before, and maybe the change from ice to liquid is not considered significant enough that would be
So
considered.
it's not about changing the matter from liquid to solid.
It
About
looking like work. But it looks like work because there was a change.
Okay,
See,
so-
both items are taking place. Rashi says there's something new on the table,
Yeah, liquid.
liquid, and that looks like work. That act,
So liquid to gas doesn't look like.
when you call gas, you say that's like a moisture.
It's gas.
That's gas.
If I have a hot pot of soup and there's liquid in it, and you see the vapor go into the air.
Yeah, the vapor goes
That's
into the air.
gas.
Yeah, but
That's gas.
so every time you again, I mean, when you take a pot of hot soup, like you said, and you take it off the fire and whatever of the plata, whatever it is, and you put it into the bowl,
Yeah.
and now gas is
Gas
happy.
is being released.
That's not that we don't never say that's a problem, right?
Well, because there's two reasons why surely it's not a problem. One, it doesn't look like work.
It doesn't look like work. Very good.
But it has the element of changing matter.
But changing
New
to
matter.
but when
You didn't do anything.
right, nothing. There's no new entity that really.
There is no way.
But that
You didn't
entity
do it.
is nothing of significance, right? You can't even. It's very. Yes, Moshe.
So, when you take out from your fridge cold food, put it out, and you forgot to put it back immediately. So you're making something because you make it colder. Or the same thing with hot. Can you make something hot, or can you remake something hot?
Very good. You can't adjust any dials on Shabbat. You can't raise the temperature of any Shabbat.
No, not the temperature, but once you got the product out of the fridge, you put it back.
So right. So now it
After
depends.
1 hour.
Right. You took the product out of the fridge. So now the question is, can you do anything to warm up the product? Number one.
To make it
Put it back in the, no problem.
You can always make it colder. The cold is never a problem.
Can you-
The question is, can you warm it? And then warming,
Yes.
there are different conditions. Yeah, because that's a lot of different conditions. Because when you're playing with fire, you gotta be
No,
careful.
if you put it on the platter of Shabbat, it's
Say it again, you put it where? In the plata?
of Shabbat,
No problem.
keeps it warm all day, the day after.
That's only if you're putting a solid on Shabbat itself. If on Shabbat itself, you want to take something from your refrigerator, you want to warm it, so it has to be fully cooked. I mean, if it's not fully cooked,
It needs to be warmer
No problem.
on the
fully
plate.
cooked, what's it? Fully cooked and a solid. Say it again.
Needs to be warmer in a plate that was started before Shabbat. You cannot put it inside an oven that was started before Shabbat.
Yes, you
No,
do.
again,
Okay.
meaning if it again, it
No,
depends.
if I-
Yeah, no. So you can't do it in a way that it looks like you're cooking. Meaning, if you have an oven on before Shabbat, say if a plata is a warmer, so it doesn't look like that act doesn't look like you're cooking. Even if it's fully cooked, if I go ahead on Shabbat, I have something that's fully cooked, a salad, and let's say I left the fire on before Shabbat, an open fire. No, there's no metal covering it. There's no blech. I'm not allowed to take that cold food, cold chicken from the refrigerator, cold schnitzel, and put it in a pot on top of that fire on Shabbat. Even though it's fully cooked, even though it's a salad, because it's
Put it in the oven.
because it's an exposed fire, it looks like it has a look of cooking. Even though I'm not doing anything. I'm saying putting it in an oven that's on will also look like cooking. Okay, but maybe whatever whatever the community, whatever say, but if whatever people, but I'm saying, but if an oven is on,
Ashkenazis We'll put it in the oven.
I haven't asked, on Shabbat, they will not put in an
So
oven.
Shabbat timer on the oven.
Ashkenaz-
Ashkenaz,
They wouldn't do it.
no,
They would, right.
But as opposed to the plot.
The plot is
Yeah,
much, as much,
It looks.
looks like warm, not cooking. It's made for warming. It's used for warming. You don't, how, the question is what, the warming drawer, it's only used for warming.
Can't cook it.
You can't cook in it.
I mean, you can't cook it, it gets to 200 degrees, it's not very hot. It could cook, I put a raw egg in there, imagine.
No, but a warming drawer,
Warming
what,
is defined
as a warmer. What is it? And what is it? It's like it's similar to a plata. What is it? What,
No, it's a drawer.
and what, how does it work?
It's
What,
like it's like an oven, but it doesn't get hotter. No, a warming drawer, you put food in it and it warms it, that's all it does. You know,
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
it's built into my cabin.
it's not a Manhattan thing.
and where's the fire for where
No
the
fire.
fire? It's electric.
Can I go the other way?
Sounds
Rabbi?
very still. It sounds like a plata. It's the way you're describing it. You know, it sounds like a plata.
Can
You know what I'm
you,
saying?
can you fill,
What does the community do with that?
Allowed.
They allowed, but the way you described it, Mark, seems it has the features of a plata. Generally, you won't
It's
cook.
enclosed.
Well, look who's here. Joey, good to see you. Boker Tov.
can you fill up an ice tray and put it in the freezer on Shabbat?
So many people, there are many people that will make ice on Shabbat. And that is, right, many people go ahead and take, meaning when I say make ice on Shabbat, we're not talking about using, that you're making any electrical
tray.
thing happening.
No, just an ice tray.
The
that-
old fashioned ice
Yes,
tray.
right.
So,
You fill it up with water and put it in the
fill it with water
freezer.
and you put it in the freezer. Many people are lenient to take water and fill it up, right? That many
Right.
people are lenient. What do you want to say? Very good. Okay, great. Now, the Gemara says, of nosin who, but even though the Gemara says you can't crush ice on Shabbat, but you could go ahead and take ice, notin who l'tochakos. You could go ahead and put it into if you have a cup of wine, ulatochakara, or let's say you have a plate of food, and you want to go ahead and you want, let's say the typical, you want to go ahead and chill the wine. So if you put the ice, you didn't crush the ice. You put the ice into the liquid, or you put the ice into the plate that had some food in the plate. That even though it gets dissolved, even though it does turn into liquid, but it's mutar. That's not a eina choshesh. Why? Because since you're not crushing the ice with your hands, it melts by itself. Since it melts by itself directly into the food, so according to
Not just changing that, because if I put a piece of ice on the table, it turns to liquid. Not changing that, it's not looking like wood.
right, but with that being said, the Gemara does not say you could put, according to this reading of the Gemara, it doesn't say you could put ice on a table for the purpose of its liquid, to just leave it on the table. The Gemara just says, so that's another question, right? We have this in-between stage. Good morning, David. We have, the Gemara says you can't crush ice for its liquid, just onto a bowl. I want this liquid, I can't crush it. The Gemara is I could put ice into a cup of wine. No problem. But what about the middle stage? I did not crush it.
Put ice in the bowl to make
Water, right? That the Gemara doesn't say. So that's going to be a discussion. That now you're in a gray area. Can you do it? Can you not do it? So that's further research about. But it would see, there are those that would say you should not do that. You're not supposed to do that for the intentionally do it for the water. Because why does the Gemara? Because the question is, why does the Gemara say l'tochakos? Why don't you just say you could put it into a bowl, put it into a plate, right? So, right, it says you could put into a cup of wine, or you could put it into a bowl of liquid, a cup or a bowl of liquid, but it doesn't say put it straight, right?
So if
So-
there's a little liquid in there, I think.
Right, that definitely,
Put a little water, then put the ice.
no problem, no problem, no
I can't
problem.
put ice in the bowl, no.
I didn't say you can't. I said that, Mark, right? So that's the gray area which we would have to see. But I think we don't do that. We have to see what the Sfardim will do about that. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch, I'll take out the Shulchan Aruch. It's Simin Shin Yud Chet. So let's take what. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah, it's much less appearance.
There's much less appearance of a work, because you didn't. There's a delay.
They allow snow if it melts on its own.
But the question is, but for you to go ahead and place it in the bowl for the intention. Good morning, David. Right, the question here is on the table, Joey. Can you go ahead and take ice cubes, with the intention of and making for the water and just put it in a bowl? We say there's no problem to put ice cubes in a cup of soda, right? Because the liquid dissolves, the ice dissolves directly into the water or directly into the wine. So therefore, it doesn't look like, you created water. But the issue is the point right. You can create. It looks like you're creating something. What you create, the ice went directly into the. It's not even here. You don't even see it. You don't see the ice when you put it into a cup of wine. The liquid that you was created doesn't have its own entity. You don't see it. But what about when you intentionally put it into a bowl for the I want the water, I create the water, but there's a delay reaction. There's that it takes time. So that delay reaction, does that make it that it's not a problem? That makes it it's still a problem because I intentionally had it for the intention of the water. I wanted to create, but water. So that would be we'll call it the gray area. So in Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Shin Yud Chet, let's take.
We went over that by son with an R who took a very different view than Rashi on this. I forget like Raj something. Okay. I don't know. The other rabbi he knew about this.
Okay, so we have to. We'll see in the Shulchan Aruch what they say about this. So Shin Yud Chet, Sif Vav, Shin. What's that? Shin Chaf, Sif Tes Vav. Let's take a look. Shin Chaf, Sif Tes Vav. So it says like this. Shin Yud Chet, Tes Vav. Tes Zayin. Okay, we have to, according Shin Tes Zayin. Okay, we have to see more about this because I don't see them, but that's the gray area that we discussed that we have to get back to tomorrow morning.
Point number 10, the rabbis did not forbid this since he does not directly melt the snow by his own actions, but merely by causing it to melt on its own. That means if I leave the ice to melt on its own, no problem.
Okay, but according to that, but again, the case of the Gemara was only putting the ice into the. So why did the Gemara say putting the ice into the cup, or the snow into the cup of wine? Just put it on the table. Laughter. That's the question on that. Okay, Mazel Tov. So Hadun Allah Memetum. Okay, now new parak. Now we're city people, but people used to have animals a lot, horses and camels in the old days. And the halacha is you can't work on Shabbat, right? Torah says you can't work on Shabbat. But not only you're not allowed to work on Shabbat, Lasazikol Malacha is that your animals can't work on Shabbat, right? In the same way, you can't carry into a public domain on Shabbat, right? If you carry from private to public in a place where there's no Eruv, right? In a place where you're not allowed to carry, that's called a malacha, right? You did an act of work on Shabbat if you carried from private to public. Correct, David? Right, Simon? So the same way you can't carry, your animal can't carry. How do you like that? Your animal can't carry because carrying is identified as a malacha, and because, by the way, carrying is a malacha that very people have difficulty recognizing carrying as a malacha, is that the first chapter of this tractate of Shabbat, what does it focus on? Carrying. Why does it? Out of all the 39 malachot, why is this the first thing that the Masechta talks about? It needs probably the most chizuk. It needs the most strengthening. You tell a guy you can't carry your keys on Shabbat in a public place. I can't carry a tissue from my house to the walking the street on Shabbat. I can't carry a handkerchief, the old handkerchief. I can't do it. Why? People don't realize that it's considered a halacha, and therefore the Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, when he organized the Mishnah, he wanted to put extra strength to that. Therefore, he spoke about you open up with the bang. The way you open up is really, it's very big, says a big message. How even when you talk, right? The opening statement, when you learned in the old days in school, the opening statement, the closing statement, right? Who reads the middle? You know what I mean? Get what I'm saying. But the point is, everyone reads. Hopefully, the Torah you read the middle too. But so therefore we focus on carrying. So now we're getting to the animals. Your animal on Shabbat can't carry, but something that's there to protect the animal, let's say, or for warmth of the animal, or to a rain, to be able, the animal shouldn't run away, animal shouldn't get lost, so those things are not considered, they're not considered carrying, because they're like part of just same way you need to wear clothing to keep you warm. It becomes part of you. Becomes batel to you, it's part of you. So too, you could go ahead, and similarly, we're going to see about if someone wants to normal type of jewelry or type of adornments that you would do for your animal, to dress up your animal with some jewelry. If it's the norm, it would seem that it's fine, just like you, right? Or restraining. These are some of the things that. Right. These are some of the things that are become like part of the animal. So now the Gemara is going to interestingly discuss, what about if you have something that's a restraint of the animal, you have something that's on the animal to keep the animal in check, that's extra, not needed. You don't need that level of security or protection for the animal, but let's say certain animals you need wilder and require more than other animals. So let's say if you switched it, you had right. But if you go ahead and you switched we'll see more about a muzzle, because a muzzle is there more that the animal shouldn't eat other, right? It's not about holding the animal, but it shouldn't eat someone else's property. But if you put a extra security thing that's not needed for this animal, is that called carrying? Because it's not really needed. It only needs level 1 and you've made a level 2. Or what about if you had an animal that requires a certain level and you put a smaller, but the level that you put on was not sufficient? Would that be carrying? Meaning, because it's not doing anything of significance that would that be considered carrying? So that's going to be some of the things that the Mishnah is going to discuss. But me behema yotza. The Perek says, what can an animal go out into public property, and but me eina yotza, and what can the animal not go out? So yotza hagamal ba'afsa. The camel could go out with a rope that's tied to the top of the head of the animal, and the animal is the camel, the type of animal that you need very minimal protect to keep it in check. It's not a wild animal, and therefore it's considered normal, and you could go ahead and leave it on the animal. If it goes out and on Shabbat, it could go out to public property. The camel, there's no concern of going out with that item with the rein on the animal. Now, Vinaka, the female camel, is wilder. It needs more protection, and therefore bechotem. It's gonna need something by its nose. We're gonna say lechotem. We know it's the nose with some sort of ring, some sort of protection that's gonna be not just something wrapped around its neck, and we're gonna see more about that. V'luvdukim, and the luvdukim are also, we're going to see what type of animals they are. They go out with a prumvia, and the Gemara is going to say, what is this luvdukim? Sounds Chinese. Luvdukim, prumvia. We're going to explain in the Gemara what? Right. What they are. The whole balei hashir, and all animals that usually you have something around their neck for beautification purposes, around their, let's say, decorative purposes. Let's say small type of animals that they go with these decorative things. Yotzin bishir, you could go ahead and they could go out with it, even though it's for decorative purposes. That's fine. The Mishnah says Yotzin bishir, they could go out with this decorative piece. V'nimshachim b'shir, and they also can be pulled with this piece. So the Gemara is also going to discuss. It sounds like there's two. Either from this language, it sounds like either one. Either if the purpose is for decorative purposes, or if it's not for decorative purposes, but if it's in order for you to hail in the animal, to control the animal, you could go ahead and go out with it. Umazan aleha. What happened if this decorative piece became contaminated with, let's say it was in a room and there was a dead body in the room, and the utensils that are in the room become contaminated if they're in the room with a dead body. So that's if we're going to give the case that way. Or the question was, maybe it got contaminated before it was in the room with the dead body, but now this item is now on the animal. In the Mishnah, mazin alehem. The Mishnah says you could sprinkle, right? We just came off last week's parasha, was chukat balak. We spoke about the sprinkling of the ashes mixed with the water of the paraduma to remove the contamination. So the Mishnah will end with this idea that you can leave this decorative piece on the animal and sprinkle the ashes of the paraduma on this piece while it's on the animal, and the animal could go into the ocean, go into and also because you need to sprinkle ashes on the third and seventh day and go to the mikveh to make that utensil pure. And we say, even though it's on the animal, obviously it has to be loose enough that the water is going to be able to go into to cover this item on all sides that's on the animal. Mazin alein, tovlin, bimkomam. You don't have to remove this decorative piece from the neck of the animal from the animal when you want to. Right, after 7 days. Right, the third and seventh day. It's a 7-day process to take an item that became contaminated through a dead body to make it pure. Third day you sprinkle the ashes. 7th day, and then after the 7th day you go and it goes to the mikveh. All of that, the sprinkling and the going into the mikveh. You're not bringing the animal into the mikveh with the thing. It goes into an ocean or whatever. That you don't have to remove the item. You can leave it on, and we'll see.
It goes into the ocean with the collars,
No problem. Right. That's what the Mishnah is teaching us. Obviously, like I said, it's obviously talking that the water is going to be able to cover the whole thing without you removed. Exactly. That's the chidush. Okay, everybody. I want to wish everybody a beautiful day. Thank you all for joining.
That wasn't David Cohen that came, was it?
Say it again.
That wasn't David Cohen that came.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
It wasn't David Cohen. Wasn't it? Thank you. Take care.
Okay,
Or
have
else
a
they
good
get
day.
tough. You have a great day, everybody.
Okay.
And Moshe, welcome back. And Mark, welcome back. Thank you. Great people. How do you like that, Mark?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. You too, everybody. Yes, exactly. Needs chizuk, right?
Let me get this off.
Exactly. Joey, welcome back.